Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. On this week's show, we are going to recap the IBJJF 2025 Pan Championships. We'll talk about all of black belt matches in the adult division and some other stuff that was fun. We are also going to preview some of the matches that happened on Main Character 6, Bad Blood. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host.
Miranda.
Hey, doing Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We just had to restart the show because Miranda has some pictures in our notes this week, and I just got to get it out right now. The first picture is of Roberto Jimenez going rawr over top, and Miranda has a very good caption on that photo, and we couldn't have it on the screen when starting the show. So That's what kind of week it's going to be. I said we're going to talk about most of the matches at Pans. I'm starting a new thing in 2025 for the show.
Okay.
If the match was really boring and it just from guard and not a lot happens and it just goes to advantages, we're probably going to skip most of it.
Well, there was 233 adult black belt matches this time. So that's a lot of matches.
Yeah, we usually cover the finals with adult. We're still going to do that. I say that as kind of a joke here. We're going to spend a little less time on some of the more boring matches that just don't have as much technical stuff because there actually are some really exciting matches.
Unless we like the boring matches.
Unless we like the boring grappler, and then we're going to spend more time on it. But this is our show. We've run the show for many, many years, and I'm going to mold the show more into the vibe that I like to have because that's why we do this show in the first place, to talk about fun matches and things that we enjoyed from the events. And honestly, there's some really fun matches that I want to spend more time on. I'd much rather give those matches some more time versus the matches that I found kind of boring. I'm going to throw it on you right now in news.
Okay.
I heard a rumor.
What did you hear?
That IBJJF has somewhere announced or said, or there's a rumor that they're getting rid of advantages. Have you heard this at all or no?
I have not heard this, but
because I've heard this off and on for like 10 years.
No, I haven't heard it. The weird thing that I did hear was that at Pans, like generally they let everyone on the floor in Kissimmee, and then they have like the black belt area, and this year you could only go on the floor if you were a black belt and you were a current black belt. So like you had registration. So you had to like have all of your paperwork.
I think they did that for Worlds as well.
Yeah.
By the way, I think they're doing that for the majors now. That like
you have
can't
to
even be on the. You have to be a black belt. And you have to have all your registrations now, like as a verified whatever, all the stuff.
Yeah, you have to have.
You
can't just be like a black belt who's competed for them before.
Yeah,
you have to have like all of.
You have to be actively paying them money to have the privilege of being on the floor, coaching or not. Which again is kind of bullshit.
Pans before everyone was on the floor because I used to go on the floor at Pans.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. I think it's a little weird, but
super weird. But again, that's the IBJJF, and that's how they treat their competitors.
Well, you're not registered.
No.
I was about to say I just recently got re-registered. So
no. I did Noogie Pans in 2016, and they treated me like shit. And I was like, I don't need to stand for this.
When you get old, you'll realize that IBJJF sometimes is your only option to get matches of people your age. So
dog, ADCC Masters, here we come.
Oh, that too.
Yeah. So let's in news this week. Before we get to the IBJJF section of the show, they rebooked it, and man, I am excited. Adele Fornerino, and thank God Miranda has spelled it out phonetically because I've been butchering her name for about 5 years now, versus Fionn Davies.
Yep.
Excited for that to be rebooked. Again, 4 Fight Pass Invitational 11. It's been rescheduled for April, I think.
Nope, right there, 5/29.
I think that's correct.
Nope, that was the date that was on it. It was It's Fight Pass Invitational 11.
Oh, it's one I screenshotted. You're right. Okay.
So it's May 29th.
So we got 2 months.
Yeah.
Which, again, look, man, it could be 6 months. As long as it's announced and, booked, that will be awesome. So excited for that rematch. Again, go ahead and watch their 2022 match. And then Fiona's at the top of her game. Adele looks phenomenal recently as well. Also on the top of her game. Can't wait to see that. It got rebooked. I am so happy for it. That is my news of the week. I don't think we have anything else really big news-wise. You have it in the news section. I think we should honestly talk about it.
Well, I only have it there because it makes a really good precursor into our recap.
So also this week in news, we don't usually cover the brown belts a ton on the show, but for big names we do. Sarah Gaval beat Helena Krovar in the brown belt absolute. Was kind of impressed with both of them. They both looked really good. Krovar had a really, really well put together guard, but Sarah Gaval just decided. It was like, I'm going to smash past you the entire time, and it's eventually going to work.
And I think for Guy, it's a little harder to get away from someone, especially once they get a hold of you. And there is a weight difference. There isn't a huge weight difference, but there's enough that it becomes a little bit of a problem when you talk about like probably grip strength and gi strength, you know.
It was a nice match. Again, it was a good showing from Sarah Gavao. She looked phenomenal throughout the entire tournament.
What's really funny is we actually had a match in the men in black belt finals that was like almost the same as that. It was like double underpasses, and you know, it was almost the same exact, you know, game.
Double underpass has really
came back to life.
It's really come back in a way that I didn't really expect it to. It's like I love doing the show.
I like the double underpass. I'm a fan.
I really have a hard time with my back because you have to lean over in a funny way with
true.
my back. So I've broken back. I can't really do it that well, but I teach it. And I actually had a note this week. We'll talk about it in a minute, but in the match with Tynan Daupra and Andy Murasaki, he uses it a ton there. And I always teach the double underpass where we'll get into let's get into recap right now. There's a technique there that happens. So double underpass, historically, it's something you teach the lower belts because it's a very fundamental pass. It's a very good pass, and it teaches you like ranges and distances. And you historically teach it like a lot of guys. You teach them to drop, to get one arm, and then to dive it towards the person's opposite shoulder. So you turn their hips over and finish the pass. And then people will inevitably figure out, like white belts and blue belts will go, cool, they'll lock their hands around the thighs and they'll just try to shuck the person over. And it doesn't work because you have someone that has good enough at shoulder walking, they'll walk back out of the position. And
we always called that the what's it called? Gold's Gym Pass. When you just try to pick somebody up by their legs and throw them by real fast. And they either immediately turtle and double leg you or they do something else.
But that's a thing that you have to unteach white belts and early blue belts because like, hey man, this totally works at white and blue and maybe under purple a little bit. But by the time you get to competitive purple belts, you're never gonna shuck them over unless you're like really, really, really good at that pass like that. And I've always taught, hey, pick a shoulder, drive your opposite hand towards a shoulder because that will turn their hips over. The way that a lot of all of pretty much the really, really high-level black belts, you're never going to get that level of extension over the shoulder. And so all of them, they grip under the belt and at the back of the pants, and they, like, drive up with their body weight. And they basically try to – it's less of a double underpass for me. It's more of a deadlift pass. The fundamental way the pass works is a little different than the traditional, like, diving across the shoulder and turning them.
You're kind of picking them up off the ground so that they can't use the ground to kind of like wiggle their shoulders.
Yeah, you're lifting them up far enough. You're actually like stacking them on their shoulders and neck in a way where Murasaki, in the instance in this pass, like is able actually to like do a kip up over Tynan's head in order to get back to turtle and out of it. And I was like, oh, that was really. I had watched it a couple of times. I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way to do that. I was thinking about teaching this pass this week, and I watched him defend it, and I went, I don't think there's a lot of guys that take my class that could make that movement work for this specific defense. And I was like, okay, I'll probably forego teaching that specific defense because like in that position, when you're stacked over like that, it's what you would have to do to escape that, which is why Murasaki does it versus Tynan. But it was just really interesting to see we watched the meta of the game change over the years covering it, and like you watch the sport for long enough, you're going to see like, oh, that worked 5 years ago.
And there's a few different times it's done, like in different matches, not just time.
Yeah, no, it's like
it's done in a lot of matches too.
You and I both had a specific note on like, I'm seeing double underpass a lot more this tournament, like in the finals matches specifically, like. You're seeing it throughout the tournament, but what is working in the finals when all the chips are down at the end, you know, for guys to win or women to win big titles, well, double underpass is still kind of there. I think it's also a fact that people we're seeing a lot more close range guard play and passing. We're seeing a lot fewer people play really extended, like long leg De La Hiva guards, even stuff like X guards, the way that Tynan and Murasaki, the way that Tynan is playing that, they're much, much closer to people than historically we've seen.
They're playing more of a waiter guard than a X. They're playing like somewhere between X and waiter.
It's like it's like an intermixed position.
Because it's not really waiter because their leg isn't laced in correctly, but it's not X.
So I'm going to do something that we've never done on the show before. We're going to start with the match we're talking about now. Okay. We're just going to start right in the middle. It's going to screw us up for notes, but we're just going to start with Tynan Daupra versus Andy Murasaki. Tynan takes it 6-0. This is the fifth time that they've met. I think on commentary they said that
third. They said third on commentary.
I thought it was 3-2 by subs and points, but it might have been 2-1.
It was 2-1. It was 3.
It was 2 by points, 1 by submission.
But maybe that's just black belt too.
Yeah.
There's a possibility you're thinking of. That's what I write whatever they say. But I could look it up too.
Yeah, we got this now. Let's
Okay.
rip it. So Tynan has earned Andy Murasaki's number. We talked about this in the preview. It kind of went. It was interesting. This tournament, Tynan's hand was not as taped up, or not taped up at all, and we saw him doing a lot more grips, which makes me believe that he had a really bad hand injury, obviously, and he had taped it up, and then now it is mostly healed to the point where he is now using that, and we saw the way that he approached Murasaki in this one be pretty significantly different than the way he approached him last time. Very willing to play out of both hands. There were 2 times that Tynan gets a sweep, and I was watching him. I watched the sweep. Basically what he does, he gets to the bottom, he gets to guard, he goes to single leg X, and then what he does is he throws almost like you would throw a deep half guard, where your back leg is through, and then he's using that, but instead of playing like a traditional waiter guard from that position, waiter guard where you're going to have both of your shins or one shin underneath the person's leg that they are teching up, the leg that you do not have overhooked for single leg X or X guard, the other leg where your legs are historically. A waiter guard is when you lift up, you can grab the outside leg from that position and lift up and sweep and pass from there. But Tynan is playing this position almost how you would play like a deep half or an X guard. He's entering it like you would enter waiter guard or X guard, but I don't have a name for this guard.
No, me
offhand.
either. And that's why I just kept on calling it waiter because it was the closest thing I could think of.
The mechanics of it are very like waiter guard.
But he has the one leg all the way over dude's
thigh, the top of the thigh.
And it's almost like he hits almost like a flower sweep, but it's not really a flower. It's like and he hits the same sweep twice.
Yes.
So the second time you can see it a little bit better and you know what's going on.
And you see the grips that he has.
Yeah.
Because what he does is this is exactly like you hit a flower sweep.
I bet you there's an instructional coming out soon.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's exactly how you would hit a waiter guard sweep backwards, or even like a traditional X guard sweep, or even a double ankle sweep. Backwards. It's the same mechanism where you have both legs for the person, you lift them up, and then you push them backwards. And because they can't outstep their center of gravity being pushed over, you take them up. Tynan rides the momentum up, and that's how he scores, 4 of his 6 points in total. Again, Andy's in this the entirety of the match.
Dude, the one time that Andy comes up with a single leg, I'm trying to think. I think Tynan tries to pass. He has him on it. He does the kip up, like you said, to get out of it. He comes up with Tynan's leg. It looks like he's going to grab the collar. He has the collar under Tynan's leg, like he's going to single leg it.
And which we've seen Murasaki use a lot and be very good at it.
Instead of doing that, he just freaking high crotches him and like picks him straight up in the air. And I'm like, holy fuck, you picked him straight up in the air.
I train with a lot of wrestlers. You also train with a lot of wrestlers. And I'm a smaller guy and tend to have pretty good balance. And so wrestlers will take single legs. If I can't get the guillotine, a lot of times I'll end in this hopping single leg position that you see in a lot of these finals because guys that get to this level have very good balance.
Now you know they're going to high crotch you.
No, I don't know that. They do that already. And so
they do?
It was just really funny to see Murasaki just make this extra step in, be in a position once Tynan gets the leg down to just high crotch. I laughed because it made me feel so much better about my game because I went, if Murasaki is doing this to Tynan, I feel less bad about all the wrestlers I train with doing this exact thing to me.
Well, the thing is, and what most people don't realize is like with a high crotch, it's not that hard to fling someone. Even I can fling most people.
Because it's like a deadlift.
Yeah, because
you're lifting and driving out of your legs. You're not really lifting them with your arms. And you watch Murasaki do it, it's a leg lift.
And you're basically completely like hips under hips. So like it's not... It's not as strong man as you think it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was so validating every time I've been dumped with a high crotch from the kidding, because this sequence happens to me not infrequently because like I hunt the guillotine, so I'm going to give you the single leg, and a lot of times like I'm too far for the guillotine. I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to give you the points in training, and so good wrestlers in our gym will drive that and lift up, and I'm like, okay, and I take guard from there because they lift. But it was just nice to see Andy Murasaki, again, do a counter that you should do because Tynan hasn't done enough to disengage from the leg position. Like Tynan, he's not being lazy. He's just...
He doesn't have to do it, so he doesn't do it.
But it's also, he knows that he can probably beat Murasaki on the counter. And it's like, well, Murasaki here is forced to go or let go with the leg.
Yeah.
And so it's I go, you go, I go, you go, I go, you go. Murasaki's got there. Tainan's defended. Now Tainan's kind of in this open leg position where it's like Murasaki's going to have to move again, and then once he's committed to a motion, I will then have the opportunity to counter. And so Tainan's like, well, I don't want to take the counter opportunity away from me here because the single leg, like, you really have to commit to something. So that's why it was great to see the high crotch from Murasaki, because it was just like the high crotch is one of the few things you can do in that position that really don't have a whole lot of downside. Unless a guy like grabs a Kimura on you, but usually you're under them enough where they can't reach and grab it. They can't reach cross body.
No,
to grab it.
you're gonna pitch him by the time like they.
And even if they do, you can throw through the Kimura a lot of times. So it was just nice to see.
But it was
like the counter to the counter.
Yeah, and it was also great to see Tainan just like bounce, like not get taken down. I mean, I think he went to one hip at one point and then got back up, and I was like, holy shit. There was a couple times that he like was bouncing around in a way that I'm like, I don't understand how
he's got
your body works.
good hips. It reminds me of like old school Jose Aldo. Guys described it to him like him having like springs on his hips, where he would like hit the mat.
Well, we all know these people.
Yeah,
they're ridiculous.
And then immediately be up and bounced up. You're like, how do you? His hips can't touch the mat. Daupro reminds me a little bit of that, kind of like old school Jose Aldo, where it's like, yeah, man, settling his hips down unless he wants to be there is really hard. So most of the points were scored in those two kind of neat waiter guard, X guard variation. There's probably a name for it. Commentary didn't have a name for it. I don't have a name for it, but like it's like a standing deep half variation almost is kind of what it looks like.
I'm sure that AOJ has a name for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there probably exists a name for it, but it was one of those like offhand. It is not a super common sweep. It's what you do in the waiter guard sweep when you screw up the waiter guard, or when someone has a weird reaction to your X guard and passes the leg forward, and you're still driving up. If you're looking for the knee bar on the same side, that you'll end up in that. That's the only way I ever get to that sweep. Is if I go for the knee bar on the X guard leg that I have, and someone catches they basically beat my leg coming across to go for the knee bar, and I end up in that weird high position. That's the only time I ever get that. If they're stepped too close, you can grab their leg and get them over.
Yeah.
But just a really interesting back and forth match against some great movement from Tainan and Murasaki. Tainan does take it, not really surprising anyone, but Murasaki had moments, but I still think that there's a lot here that he's got to. There is not an easy, repeatable way for victory against Tainan, but Murasaki was very much in this, if that kind of gets the point across.
You have to get Tainan to mess up, and Tainan doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and then you have to usually be able to sustain your offense and not give him counter opportunities. Like, again, what Jesse Gomez did. Jesse Gomez gets one opportunity to underhook, gets it, flattens him, and then he does not let Tainan get back into the match. And like that just...
Did he retire? Because I don't see him in the things.
I haven't seen Jansen in the match. Is he injured, or did he pop, I think?
No, he didn't.
He didn't pop?
No.
Okay.
No.
Where's he been?
I don't know. Maybe he said, I won against Tainan, I'm done.
I mean, he win a world title, not a bad way to do it.
I kind of get it.
I mean, yeah, we saw Tim Spriggs do that.
Yeah.
He was like, I beat Kynan.
Yeah.
I'm done now.
Tainan Dalper had a bow and arrow, but it wasn't really. It was in quarterfinals.
Oh, versus Alejandro Marino.
Yeah, he had this like bow and arrow that was like over the shoulder. It was horrible looking.
There was some really neat. There's a couple. So credit where credit's due. We give Flo a lot of shit, very deservedly a lot of the times. They had really good coverage of Pans this year. Other than some audio issues for some of the linked finals, Flo actually has a really good article that links all of the finals, and they did something I love that we've never seen them do before. And that same page with all the final results, they have every division broken down by match with all the links for all the matches that are available, and occasionally they will have little notes for certain matches that are particularly interesting. And I was like, oh, I love that, because it's not every match.
And it's up by today is Monday.
Yeah, we're doing the show with Monday.
Yeah,
it's awesome because occasionally like there's a match in like a quarterfinals or a round of 16, and you're like, okay, here's results, and Flo will have occasionally a couple times a division, we'll have like a note which is like a one sentence, like, oh, there's a really neat exchange here at the end, or oh, it's a 90-second sub, or fastest sub of the day so far, or like, oh, that's really cool. It looked like someone was doing live notes while they were uploading this. It's great. It made our notes for this phenomenally easy, and it gave me a chance to easily go and spot check some of the matches I didn't see live, where it's like, oh, I'll go and watch this round live because Flo has a note that there's something interesting here with 90 seconds left. Click into the match, see the score, click into it, and it's there.
If you go and look at finals, the video for finals is 9 hours long.
Yeah, it's like we've done it for years and years and years.
So yeah, unless you're gonna sit and put it on TV like all day and just kind of like wander around aimlessly, it's very difficult to watch.
I mean, I went through rewatched the finals for notes for the show in like an hour. It was great. I just got to tab through. I looked again on some of the matches I needed to redo, take some more notes on. It was great. It was like Flo did an awesome job here. Credit where credit is due for the notes and the write-up. Like, this is the kind of coverage that I would love to see on all your major events. On all your events, but let's start with all the majors because there's little notes for like matches that I normally would not have had the insight to look into.
And it's not that hard. It really is.
No, it's not that hard at all. It's very easy to do if you have like 3 people on staff that are actively like updating the site. So but again, credit where credit's due. I appreciate that they did it. So let me get back in order, Miranda. You want to start with the heavier folks or with the lighter folks?
The lighter folks.
Lighter folks. Finals for the Rooster, where it was Jalen Foncier beating Yuri Hernandez via decision.
Hendricks.
What did I say?
I don't know what you said.
How did I get?
How
did I get Hernandez out of Hendricks?
It's Hendricks,
and it is one of those days.
It's Phonos. Oh man!
Now you're on the spot.
I know.
Jalen. Let's go with Jalen versus Yuri. 8-8.
This is a copy of their Euros match.
Pretty much. Yeah.
This is the exact same thing that happened. We're going to both pull guard. We're going to get a 50-50. One of us sits up, we get the points. The other one sits up, we get the points. One of us jumps for an ankle lock. We don't get the ankle lock. We recover our guard. Somebody stands up, they get 2 more points. And that's the entire 10-minute match.
Moving on.
Not saying that either of them didn't stop moving.
That was good. It was
they had some really good attempts, but
I have nothing to add. It is a classic Rooster weight.
Yeah.
I hate it because it was a good match. I personally thought it was interesting, but it is why a lot of times the lower weight gi guys get a bunch of shit from people is
and
because
girls do the same thing. It's the little people game.
The little people game. Isa Bastos had a very similar styled match where it's a lot of double-seated open guard and teeter-totter sweeps back and forth for like you're fighting for one instance of something happening.
And it also comes down to a lot of like who's coaching you and who knows how to get those last points.
Who knows how to score last and get the last advantage or the extra advantage at the end. Yeah. Again, it's a masterclass in game planning for these things, but it is a match that we have covered repeatedly for years. And I would love to see these guys be able to like go to the guard sometimes and like get through it and be able to pass. But it's hard to pass sometimes, so I get it. But again, that was Roosterweight Finals match. Again, Flo, where credit is due, they have some notes on some of the earlier matches that I would not have gotten a chance to look at. I think that Danforth got robbed in his final match because I think he was on the sub. I'm going to say it. But he didn't get any points in that, so we move on. You look on something else?
Yep, we'll move on. We'll move to men's lightweight.
This is okay. I thought we were in not baby. We're in Baby Shark now.
Yeah.
So finals here we had.
It's either Harrison or Rarison. I couldn't tell which one they were saying.
I feel like I can't say the other one. I'm gonna call him Harrison.
Okay.
Versus Harrison Gabriel versus Diego Hayes. Diego Hayes gets beat.
Yeah.
Really, really surprised that Hayes got. He was in it. It was a very, very close match. He loses a decision to Harrison.
And this one kind of goes back and forth. Like I could see either gentleman win, but Harrison had some crazy attacks, like crazy transitions where I'm like, how the he moved. There's. Sometimes in the lower weight classes, people move so fast that you think you accidentally hit the fast forward button because they move at a speed that you don't really understand.
You had the same thing happen for this match?
Yeah.
I did the same thing where I was like,
what?
Did it skip? Did I miss something? I had to go back. I was like, oh, no, that's just what happened there. Okay. There's a sequence. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, it's the whole lumberjack sweep. And then he always gets mounted, but he's below the hips, so he doesn't get mount points, but he gets the sweep points. But then Baby Shark somehow gets to his back from there and sweeps him and then gets to his back. But then Harrison gets back to reverse De La Hiva. And then it's this whole...
It was a really fun sequence.
It's fun, but you watch it and you're like...
I got to take my...
15 things just happened.
I watched it and I went, I am not taking notes on this sequence.
Could you imagine us trying to commentate this shit? Like,
It'd be awesome. I would have had such a good time.
I know, but you wouldn't be able to get it out.
You would have been smacking me down because I've been yelling into the microphone, having a great time. So that's the one sequence I want to talk about because that's really the defining sequence of this match is the lumberjack sweep that Harrison hits on Baby Shark. It's basically Baby Shark gets a little
too close.
He gets a little too close in his stand-up out of the guard. So,
and it might be something that people, because like Harrison comes from, I believe he's a...
I am not going to get there.
Shit.
By the way.
I knew what school he came from.
You can look at his back patch and know.
Yeah.
We don't have,
and
we don't have a picture in front of us.
And he had somebody coaching for him that was like legit. And from that, anyway.
The lumberjack sweep.
It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't practice that sweep for this reason. Let's say it that way.
Baby Shark looks like he slips a little bit. Like he gets a little close, and it looks like he wanted to tack out of the lumberjack because he stands up, and then Harrison immediately goes to grip the leg, and then you see Baby Shark look like he wants to move, and then he's just, again, he's, like you said, a little too close.
Yeah.
Harrison comes over. I mean, how often do you see lumberjack to mount? And you see Baby Shark go, oh shit, get out, immediately work the kipping escape.
It's also gi, and I don't do gi. Like, I can't tell you the last time I put a gi on, so...
It is. I will give you it is more common in the gi because you have the grips to fight and come up through.
Because you can grab pants and it's not grabbing a leg. Where you can kind of kick out of a leg grip. If somebody grabs both your legs, like if you can do it fast enough, you can grab their head, pull their head into you, and like kick out a leg.
Yeah.
And get out of it. But like in the gi, once they grab your pants, you're kind of fucked.
Especially because you're falling over. Like, what am I going to kick out of? The air. So it was a really interesting sequence. The decision could have gone either way, but I think it is the correct decision. I think Harrison beats Baby Shark here.
It says Alliance, but I forget who.
For some reason, I think he was Alliance. That does sound
It's Alliance. It is. But I forget. You could tell that he was being coached in a way that
had planned for a guy like Baby Shark. Yeah.
Which I'm sure if you're going to be
if you're going to be in Baby Shark's division going into a major, and you're on the opposite side of the... You plan to beat Baby Shark at one point because why? Because that's the guy to beat.
Because you have to, yeah. Who are you going to plan for? You're going to plan for the top of the division.
Yeah, I'm going to plan for how do you beat... if you want to go actually... If you want to go there participation trophy, all these guys in the finals here are here to win. Yeah. You go and plan for like, hey, how do I beat Murasaki? How do I beat Tynan? How do I beat Wardzinski? How do I beat Baby Shark? How do I beat... All of those guys, that's... You go into your... Okay, I think about my game and how it fits into the landscape. That's what you should be doing in these divisions as a professional. Is like, how do I go and beat the guys that are top of my division? Yeah. Because to win the division, I'm going to have to beat them. Yeah. So, again, really, really well game planned. He beats him straight up. He gets a decision. And it was a very fun match. Very much worth a rewatch, especially given like how often we talk about Diego Hayes. Yeah. In the gi, his game is a bit different, but...
I've also noticed for whatever reason in this championship event, they would make you, if you lost your belt completely in IBJJF, they'd make you tie your belt. They'd make you put it back on and tie it.
Not always.
But this one I've noticed a lot more, they would grab it and throw it off the mat.
Yeah.
Like a lot more than I normally saw them do that.
I think they've been starting to do that more because they really are cracking down on the stalling.
Oh, okay.
And I think
and people know that they can get a breather
and
if
they can
tie
get a breather
the belt.
over and over again. And so I think last year they started they changed the rule for the tie and the retie. Okay. And they don't tie it as much anymore. Okay. Because they got tired of it's like you get one belt tie. There's rules with it now for how they do it.
I just noticed normally they wouldn't pull it away so fast, but I felt like they were pulling people's belts away and throwing them off.
I don't have to wait for 10-minute ties, which I was happy about. Again, do what ADXC does. Tape that bitch together. Yeah. And then no problems.
Yeah, true.
There's that. So that was the finals match for light feather. On to featherweight. Pato and Cole closed. Pato takes it. It's a closeout. I don't care. They shouldn't have them. Closeouts are dumb in a combat sport. I think it's a disgrace to the sport. They're stupid. Moving on to the lightweight division. I'm done. I'm tired of having majors for closeouts, dog.
I know.
Like, if I had to see another world final at heavyweight, absolute, it's a final closeout. You're like, what are we doing here, guys? Yeah. Fight for it. You're here to go compete and see who's the best. Like,
no, I get it. I get it.
I hate it. We've covered it for years and years, and I hate it.
Well, my other thought is, me and teammates, we used to put ourselves in different divisions so we wouldn't have to go against each other.
Man, if you guys both make it, Fight for it.
Yeah.
Or IBJJF, don't put them. Make it so you can't have teammates. Do what ADCC does.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you can't have teammates in the final. Why? Because like you're gonna have to fight before your final. So you get a real finals match between guys that aren't homies and teammates.
Yeah, but IBJJF is all about.
They cater to the big schools with the Brazilian guys, and that's fine. It just continues to frustrate me greatly because
and they took away,
it diminishes the accomplishment of Pans.
They took away points or money or something like that.
Money and points, yeah. And Magali was like, yeah, man, if I'm winning a world title, it doesn't. The amount of money doesn't. It's not. The points and the money are not the point at that point. And I was like, okay. And Magali had a good point about it for him. He's like,
Margali's disappeared. Where has he been?
Who knows? Is he banned now? Still?
He
had a 1 year ban, right?
No, he wasn't banned at all.
No, he did the middle finger. He got banned for that.
Yeah, but then he fucked up his shoulder.
Shoulder surgery. You're right.
Yeah, but then he disappeared. I haven't seen him.
Interesting.
Anyway,
on to the men's lightweight division. We have Julio Andres versus. That's right. That's earlier. You highlighted it.
Well, I highlighted the things that I liked and the things that I wanted to talk about as we were going through.
So in the quarterfinals, Miranda has highlighted Julio Andres defeats Fabriuri Cristiana via coyote lock.
Yeah, because you don't see this shit very much.
He got it
standing. It was beautiful. I've tried to do this shit. Like, I remember.
My wife does it to me.
Really?
Dude.
My legs.
She's gotten really good at it, and it's really annoying.
I don't think my legs are long enough. And so, like, I try to go to get my, like, De La Hiva hook, and I can't, like. And
her legs are as long as my legs, so yeah, she maybe makes sense.
You have to like pop it while they're still standing, and like I just don't have the leg.
It's not a common submission to see.
No, I think it's amazing because it's so fast, and like
just hurts
I think you heard dude's foot, and then he like. I don't think he tapped. I think he like said something, but I don't know what it was.
Foot's broken.
It was one of those that you were like, whoa, I don't know. There's certain things that like Kyotera locks,
Estima lock.
There's certain things that when I see them, I'm like, ooh, that's fun. But anyway.
That standing wrist lock people do sometimes to people.
I don't like wrist locks.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get punched in the face by Miranda.
It is a good way to get punched. You've done it before. So the finals for lightweight here was Alexandre Jesus defeating Jackson the Guy. 0-0, 2-1 advantages. It's a 0-0 10-minute match at black belt with less activity than I would prefer, Miranda. Any special notes on this one?
Nope.
Men's middleweight, we already talked about it. We have Tynan Dowper versus Andy Murasaki. Banger of a match. Go back and watch it. We also had Tynan Dowper in the quarterfinals defeating Alejandro Marino via choke from the back.
It was like a bow and arrow, but not really. It was almost like a bow and arrow, but he was like, his legs, it was fun to watch.
It was nifty.
It was nifty.
Let's see. We also had in men's medium heavyweight. We had Francisco Lowe and Mateus Luna close out division for checkmat.
Okay. Let me say this, and this is probably not a popular opinion, but if you close out with your teammate in finals, you should not be taking pictures of yourself asleep in bed with your gold medal, acting like you just won a championship. In my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little. Guys do some cringe stuff. Mateus Luna had a funny match earlier. I don't know who it was. He had a bunch of
straight ankle locks.
Yeah, and there's one Instagram video. I opened up Instagram this morning.
It has to be that. It's probably the semi.
It has to be ruined that.
Well, if you notice at the very top, it said how many people were in the division completely. So there were 20 matches in the division. So that's only 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're missing a bunch.
Yeah. But an earlier Mateus Luna match, there's a video, and it's his opponent trying to get him DQ'd.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I saw that one.
I was like, oh, man, that's embarrassing.
That was, like, and dude's like looking at it and like talking to
the ref
him.
was like, man, that's embarrassing.
And not only is he's not defending as he's doing it.
I know.
And then Luna's just like, I'm going to crank on your foot. And then
it was great because all the comments are like, "This is embarrassing," and then and a bunch of other comments were like, "Yeah, technically it's also legal too."
Yeah,
because he's not the way that he's attacking it is legal to attack.
He wasn't doing anything wrong.
Which is like, dude, if I had a student, and again,
and he was sitting there, and he was like,
I don't want to ever disparage the athletes,
and you're
these
not
guys
supposed to talk to
the
you're not supposed to talk to the refs anyway.
And if something's, I've had to do it before, where something's like heel hooking me in the gi in a tournament, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Like I've had to kind of like, hey man, look the thing he is doing. Why? It's like because
it's not.
It's very illegal, and I don't want to get my heel hook ripped off because homeboy doesn't know that that's illegal, and I'm like gonna defend it differently because we're in the there's some gamesmanship, and it is understandable from the athlete's perspective.
Yeah.
But it is also embarrassing to like. Not people looking. He's obviously looking for the DQ, as opposed to like
Yeah. Oh,
biting out of the
1,000
thing.
yeah,
And it was like, oh, that's kind of a bad look.
And then, but he gets his foot ripped off
his
after.
foot ripped off. Mateus Luna. I was like, hey man, you win, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But yeah, it was just a little embarrassing to watch the sequence there and like that be the first thing I opened up Instagram. I was like, come on, man, there were so many great matches. Like, show me the tiny match, show me the log splitter sweep from people. Like, but that's the first thing I opened up.
But it's still funny. Like,
it was funny.
Some of this stuff's funny.
And dude, we know that Luna has a monster footlock.
Yeah.
Even though he closed out in the finals of this division.
Well, Francisco Lowe has bad feet, so it probably is to Francisco Lowe's benefit that he didn't get footlocked.
Yeah. Moving on to my guy at men's heavyweight, we had Adam Wardzinski doing the thing. This might have been the best match of the tournament for me. Best finals match. I think that maybe him and the Tynan match and Murasaki match was great, but that's always a great match. These two dudes, Roberto Jimenez is on something else right now, and he kind of has been for like 3 or 4 years. When Jimenez is on, dude is really exciting.
I think when you know when he's on, when he looks like a hobo in a poncho, and before his match, he starts feeling the mat.
He starts rubbing the mat.
He rubs the mat.
Really
and
intense.
When you see that, you're like, oh shit, it's
on Jimenez.
Yeah, I have a couple different names for him that I call him all the time.
Miranda had what'd you have on the top?
Cocaine Bear.
You called him Cocaine Bear says raw.
Yeah,
and that image at the top.
Because he kept on like picking up his arms and then he would like smack your hands away from him, and if they got a picture of him with his hands up, he looked like,
like the promotional image from the movie Cocaine Bear.
Well, and like what you're told when you're like in the woods and you see a bear, you're supposed to try to make yourself seem bigger so that you can like scare them away. Like that's the positioning that he has.
Look, I see a bear that's gonna eat me.
I know, yeah, but you're supposed to be like, "Hey, bear," and put your hands up.
The bear's gonna be like, "Oh, tasty snack."
Yeah,
tasty small guy. So,
but anyway.
This match was phenomenal. It's 16-4, Wardzinski, which you might think from that score, this was a blowout. And in sections, it kind of was.
Yeah.
But man, Roberto Jimenez, those 4 points, that does not include almost 2 back takes that he gets on Wardzinski that were kind of close.
He has 3 in a row. He does the headstand backflip thing 3 times.
Was that 3 or 2? I remember 2 in this match.
It was 3 at the end in a row.
Roberto Jimenez.
And I was like, holy shit.
We've talked about him for years being a really, really, like the best double unders back taker. If he's in your guard and he gets double underhooks on you, the best double unders back taker in the sport. He has a phenomenal feel for that technique. He is now also getting really, really good since he's gone up to, what are we at? Heavy. We're at men's heavyweight. He has also gotten really good at this like cartwheel pass over the shoulder. If you play an open range guard, like a guard that doesn't have any entanglement with the legs, and that is not that is involving you pulling him into a range.
Similarly, it's almost like a jumping guillotine. Like if you jump a guillotine and roll over someone to jump a guillotine, it's the same sort of thing, but you're like flipping over them.
I'll put this out here. It's the same pass that Nicky Rod used at ADCC 2019 all the time. It's that same blocking of the shoulder, coming over, covering the back, and getting the back and getting the hooks. It is the exact same cartwheel pass. And he does it with a little less flair than Nick Rodriguez did it with. But the technique, the way that he does it, is the exact same that Rodriguez does it. He's just not quite as big. But the speed, when Rodriguez was a little younger, 6 years ago, is still there here as Jimenez is doing it. And Jimenez is honestly maybe a better back taker.
There's a wrestling move called a magic stick where they like jump over their back. And I wonder if that's. This is from like head on as opposed to like.
Yeah,
the
magic
side.
stick is like a different.
It's from the side.
Different.
Yeah, but you still jump over the same way.
Yeah.
You literally throw your leg over their head and you jump up behind them.
Again, Jimenez here is phenomenal. And Wardzinski, to his credit, man, consistently blocks the points for the back take from by like a couple of hairs. And he's able to tech through, scoop under, get his butterfly guard back. Yeah. But eventually, you see Adam Wardzinski just like that game as old as time. Hits butterfly guard sweep over, and then
it wasn't a butterfly. It was a John Wayne sweep.
Oh, it was a John Wayne sweep. I forgot it wasn't butterfly.
It was. He had butterfly, but Roberto didn't.
He shelved a hook over.
Didn't give a shit about the butterfly.
And then Wardzinski goes, "Hey man, I still have a really long leg and a one hook in your body," and he just elevator over sweeps
I think at one of Adam's big things is he's so long that it's hard to like.
You can't get off his hooks all the
Yeah.
way. And he's also strong enough where it's like a lot of guys will try to out-sprawl his hooks.
Yeah.
But he can still
I
like
don't think
scoot under you more.
you have to be like some kind of like John Jones-ish kind of gentleman.
You got to have some attributes, as McGregor put it.
Yeah, exactly, to like get out of his hooks because they stay in no matter what.
Yeah, he's got a really, really good like butterfly guard hooked game. He gets over, and then what I love is I love everything about Wardzinski's game. He gets there, Roberto Hernandez goes, oh no, guard, and then Wardzinski goes, cool, knee cut through, and then immediately, one thing that I like about Wardzinski, and we see him do it every time he tends to not be a guy, based on where he passes for the knee cut pass on the outside, and the way that he controls prior to him passing, he tends to be a guy that almost always immediately goes to mount.
Yeah.
We tend to not see him camp in half guard or side control for huge pieces of time. He's usually sweeping up into a top position. He's booting the knee cut over. He's getting guys to kind of chase him up.
Yeah.
And because your chest is up trying to win the underhook battle, he's able to knee cut over. I do this exact same thing partially because I watched a lot of Adam Wardzinski and I have a bad back, so I can't get super low in the passing. Because Wardzinski's chest is so high up, it lets him go immediately into mount if he can time it. And because Wardzinski plays butterfly and X guard, he's played that guard for so many years, his timing is phenomenal with the weight distribution, and he can take it to mount. He takes it to mount twice.
Yeah.
So it's like a pass
And then
to mount.
and then he puts your shoulders over your head, which
He got a tap in an earlier, match in his quarterfinals match versus Douglas Saldana. He gets he just bellies Douglas down and then lifts his hands over his head. And I think probably a shoulder lock is really what it is.
It's a shoulder lock or it's a smother because you're
into the mat, though.
Because you're like throwing your chest, which is, do they wear no rash guard under your gi, right?
No.
So it's your hairy ass chest on his face, or, you know.
No, he's belly
being
down.
crushed.
This finish is not mother's milk.
Oh, okay.
This is belly down. He taps him belly down.
Well, yeah, that's probably shoulders.
Which is just like you.
Because your shoulders coming up. It's
I went
not,
and rewatched the quarterfinals match for Wardzinski. I was like, what? Because they, again, float to their credit, man. They had a little note, and I was like, what is this little note? That seems odd.
Yeah, because he has him belly up at first with his hands over his head,
and then he turns him,
and then he like rolls.
Yeah, because he tries to get out of it, and then. But you see the tap just go like, I'm done. I've tapped to that position before too. It sucks. Again, a guy like Wardzinski putting that much pressure.
I don't do well with my shoulders over my head.
No, I have a third of a ligament left in this arm.
Yeah, mine is.
This one's gone completely. The rotator cuff's mostly gone. Like, dog, this is donezo for me.
Yeah.
So I totally feel no harm in that tap there, especially because Adam Wardzinski is a human like tank on top of you.
You know at that point you're kind of fucked. I mean,
what are you gonna do? Wardzinski's on your back. He's bellied you down. He's looking to win a world title in a quarter. He's looking to win pans. I'm looking to not die. We're doing different things right now. Roberto Jimenez also had a really good match versus Gustavo Batista in the quarterfinals as well to put those guys in the semis.
That's the other one that if you saw the Instagram video going around of him jumping someone's back from doing the like headstand. It looks like a cartwheel headstand.
It's a cartwheel pass.
And he like goes straight over the back and he does it to Bautista and I'm like, holy shit, like that's not these aren't like
he's not doing it to B and C level guys.
Well, yeah,
he's doing it to world
these aren't like
championship
people,
level guys.
And these aren't like little people that like you fuck around with in the gym or you play with, you know. This is
Gustavo Batista and Adam Wardzinski.
Yeah, this is him doing it to very decorated large black belts. And he's like just kind of jumping on their backs.
Yeah, it's really impressive to see him do this at this level. It reminds me of Rodriguez in 2019.
Yeah,
like it is. I cannot overstate how wildly impressive to be able to consistently hit this back take.
The other thing that was funny in this match was when he hit the single leg at the very beginning on Adam Wardzinski. Like he didn't drop Adam. He like nicely put him to the ground.
He saw, hey Adam, you want to play butterfly guard? I want to get 2 points.
Yeah, and
then Adam kind of goes. They kind of like it's weird.
It was like they agreed that like if you let me down, like we're good.
What I thought actually, I watched that twice because I was like, why?
I didn't know if Adam was like hanging on him.
Yes, what I think was happening is he was hanging on him, and Roberto knew that if he dropped, Adam gets to bounce you over in butterfly guard, because this is what I do to guys as the butterfly guard player. If you drive me over, the sumo issue that leg hook all the time. And he knew, he's like, I have to put Adam down kind of nicely because if I overcommit, he's going to flip me.
It reminded me of how they take me down sometimes in the gym.
Yeah,
when they
just, like,
when they like take me down really hard and then they let me get over the mat really nicely.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, but that's my guess of why he single-legged him like that, was
because
to avoid Brzezinski just flipping you over the head, which he does later in the matches. But again, that was Adam Brzezinski. Love watching that guy win stuff. Also, again, Roberto Jimenez. I did not know if Roberto Jimenez was ever going to be able to like flesh out all the pieces of his game.
He had Murillo coaching him too, because they have to hear Murillo's voice.
Dude, he did, man. I'm really excited for what Jimenez is going to look like gi and no gi in like 2 years, because he's just gotten better and better and better and better and better. He's gone up in weight, and he's doing even better up in weight now. He's doing
like every single IBJJF.
Yeah, you've been sending me highlights of him just trucking dudes at opens.
I know,
and
because
this is rude.
If you're a heavyweight in the open, you might get him.
But it's been really impressive. We'll talk about him later versus Gutenberg Pereira in the men's open weight here.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the men's super heavyweight. We had a final of Nolan Stewart versus Paulo Marin. 2-0, Nolan takes it.
This is the one of the other ones with a lot of the double underpassing, because Paulo Marin tries to double underpass
for like the whole time, and then nothing happens for like 8 minutes or something.
And then Nolan gets
omoplata. And then goes over. He gets 2 adds for it. They almost don't give him the point. No, there's a weird sequence.
No, he gets points.
What happened?
He goes deep lasso underhook. He almost goes Margali sweep.
Yeah.
But it's like Margali does. He does a deep lasso on one side and he does his butterfly on the other side. And this guy did an underhook with his arm and a deep butterfly.
This was, I remember the points took a long time to come on, and I looked and I was like, I think that should be points.
I think it was because of how he landed, because he landed like in a footlock. Or he landed in something.
He didn't land in a footlock, and then Paulo, to his credit, immediately goes for the footlock, but it's been like 2.5 seconds, and then what happens is Nolan Stewart turns away so that he's not going to be in control of the guard, and then he turns back into the guard and establishes it. But it was a weird back and forth sequence,
and it was at the very, very end.
Yes, and then I was like, he should have scored for that either. I had to go back, actually. I went back and watched the entire sequence and paused it every 3 seconds. I was like, okay, is there control? And I was like, there's 2 points where I would have scored it for him to get that. So I think it was very reasonable that he got his 2 points and won the match on that.
And I also think that if he wouldn't have gotten that sweep, this was your typical Gracie Baja. You pull guard on them. They try to pass, but not enough to actual pass, but enough to get an advantage, and then they chill.
Yeah, it was going.
It's a gamemanship game. It's a gamesmanship.
About
match.
8 minutes of not a whole lot going on. Again, tactically, can't fault the athletes for that. They played to the rule set. And then 1 minute of actually like a really interesting sequence you had to walk through. So on to the men. Anything else on this?
Nope.
On to the men's ultra heavyweight, we had Marcus Scooby Hebeto defeating Hender Tropico via paper cutter choke.
This is my favorite gi choke.
Dude, this was quick. He finishes him like quick too. He just like bangs a pass and then.
Dude, this is how you train with Kevin now. This is how Kevin taught me initially to do double underpasses. When you do a double underpass, you take your outside arm and you grab their far side of their lapel.
This is how
so
I teach
as you push them over to pass, your paper cutter's right there. And then as soon as you pass, you slide your other hand.
You slide underneath the back collar, you pull the back collar in.
And your paper cutter is, you can sometimes choke them while their legs are still up in the air.
Yeah.
But, you know.
He gets it. Again, there's not much to this match other than it's one beautiful sequence once it starts. Yeah. And it's just like.
It's beautiful.
It's done, but and Scooby takes it.
It's my favorite choke in gi.
Really?
Yeah, it is. To this day. It's what I do in gi. Like if I do something in gi, that's basically what I still remember how to do it.
That is the most goon shit you could have picked too. I appreciate it, Miranda.
If you think about it.
And
I've realized this, like I was always trained with large
big guys.
So like I have a big man game in a small human, which makes me think that maybe I shouldn't get smaller and compete smaller, that I should just try to pull a Gabby Pisana, like I'm just
be tanky and huge and be super strong with the dope game.
I'm just gonna chuck you around kind of thing.
I've been on a side note here, you're talking about favorite gi chokes. I've been X choking since getting like late brown belt into black belt. I've been doing a lot of X chokes
So
to
you've
people.
been going back to the beginnings.
I'm just like, because now I'm good enough that I can finally get the choke.
Yeah.
And I was like, I spent 10 years not getting this choke. And then
Yeah.
suddenly, like, I had a purple belt. I was, I think, a brown belt, like a late brown belt. I had a purple belt that mainly is a no-gi guy.
Yeah.
And, like, we were training the gi one day, and he got me with it. And I was like, no fucking way. And I had to tap to it. And I was like, I should go back to this choke
Yeah.
because, like, it's good. And since then, I've restarted doing that choke. And it's right now in my gi game, I'm working on a lot more lapel and gi chokes. And so it was nice to see a couple of really, really neat chokes in the Pans finals this week.
Loop chokes.
Loop chokes.
Loop chokes are amazing.
I'm working on a really nasty one recently. Moving on to the men's open weight with Gutenberg Pereira and Roberto Jimenez again. This match was not very exciting.
It was weird.
The biggest thing in this match was really that the last, you have notes here about it, or 2 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Or 3 minutes of the match?
Yeah.
Is Jimenez pushing Pereira out?
Well, no, that's the whole match.
Yeah, really,
Like,
the whole match.
literally the whole match is Jimenez getting 2/3 of a takedown going, and then Pereira, because he is working on the outside to begin with, he just, like, casually walks out of bounds, and they stand him back up. And I don't even know how that works. Like, how do you do that and not get points?
Pereira has always been... So, this is one of the things that always frustrated me about him for years is he did this. Pereira knows better than any athlete around now. Because Leandro Lo is the other guy that knew. They know how to play the border in a way they will not get him penalized. He knows exactly how he can play it.
And I guess because it's a takedown and it's not a submission attempt.
But you should.
But the thing is, like, you're literally only escaping the takedown because you're walking out of bounds.
IBJJF has changed some rules, and and Pereira knows exactly how he can play this, and he's playing the rule set, so I can't really fault him. It frustrates me as a viewer to see it because you're watching Jimenez work and really getting nothing for it. Again, Pereira, to his credit, man, he plays it well. He gets next 2 advantages here.
Yeah. Dude,
but it was just kind of frustrating to watch.
Yeah, there was a couple times Gutenberg pulled guard. The one time he goes for an omoplata and Roberto doesn't get omoplated, but, like, I don't even know how he gets his arm out, and then he almost gets face planted, and then like, his scrambling ability,
especially at this weight at
was
open
wild.
weight.
Yeah,
I think a lot of guys don't know how to deal with the speed that he has as a bigger guy. Because again, he was what, 145 as a teen, and then we've covered him through 145, 170. We've covered him at 77 kilos. We've covered him at fucking 88 kilos. Like, he's now in open weight and comfortably sized for open weight. Pereira is definitely bigger here, but Jimenez is comfortably above 200 pounds now.
Well, except when he goes roar and he's bigger than Pereira.
Yeah, well, there's that too. But it was a little frustrating. Again, credit to Pereira. He played it well. It was just a bit frustrating as a viewer to kind of watch somebody game the rules as hard as he did to get the victory.
But I guess he knew.
Well.
But I guess he knew that was how he had to do it. Like, he wasn't going to win otherwise.
You're not going to beat Jimenez in a firefight, so let's not have a firefight. Let's bring him to the
my
edges
thing
of
is,
this rule set.
why don't you pull guard then try to sweep him and shit then? But I guess you think you can't sweep him. I mean, it almost tells me a lot about you if you are that concerned with him that you're going to make him play an outside
Pereira
edge.
has always had a really interesting, like, very long range guard.
Yeah.
And I think with a guy like Jimenez who thrives in that open space, like, you want to keep it standing, you can kind of lean. Like, tactically, again, it makes sense. I don't want to fault Pereira for playing like this. Just as a viewer, I would prefer him to do something else, and I would prefer the rule set to facilitate him needing to do more jiu-jitsu and keep a more fervorous pace, because I think Jimenez needs a dance partner, and it's like, it was kind of a mid open weight final that I wish would have been more exciting. So,
do you know when Roberto went against Scooby in semifinals? Was that a flying armbar?
It was
an armbar.
No, this one was controversial. Okay. I went back and watched this. It was really quick in the match. It was like 2 minutes in, I think. And Scooby said he didn't tap in it. And if I look back, it's like a jumping armbar over the guard, kind of. And the angle I have, so I watched this like 3 or 4 times to see. Again, I don't want to take anything away from anyone. It looked like that Jimenez gets it and gets it clean. It looks like Scooby taps, but also his head is the other way, so it's really hard to see where his hand would be. But if you watch the referee, on the other end, so that's one angle. The other angle,
No, but that's not him. That's somebody else.
the referee is
This is somebody else.
that's Cavalcante.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Cavalcante earlier. The referee is looking. You can kind of follow his eyes. It looks like he's looking at Scooby's hands,
Yeah.
and not like the arm,
Yeah.
which is where he should be looking for the tap. And then he calls it like a second into the arm bar, so it looks like it looks correct for the stoppage.
Yeah.
But it was a little weird. But Jimenez looked good. He looked like he got the armbar clean. There was just a little bit of controversy on the tap. But again, Scooby wins the division, and then for Jimenez to take you out in the open is pretty impressive, especially because Scooby took out Wilson Torres 17-0 in the first match, and then Bautista, who got taken out by Jimenez in the weight class, wins his quarterfinals match versus Guilherme Augusto 16-0.
Yeah.
Roberto Jimenez beats Anderson Kuan 9-0. And then
here it
Pereira
is.
beats Francisco Lowe 4-2 in the
Maybe.
quarterfinals. Again, it was an impressive.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it is a weird one.
Yeah, I think it was a fine call for the ref, but it's also weird. But
Well, because armbars like that are so complicated because you're trying to. You also don't want to not call it and then have someone's arm getting broken.
because that is an armbar
Yeah.
that breaks the arm
So
very frequently.
It's like it's and especially with the gi on, like you can't see an elbow, you can't
Mm-hmm.
like you're kind of playing a game where you have to like
Refereeing is a thankless job.
Yeah.
Referees tend to make mistakes here and there, which is understandable. It sucks. I don't like to see it. I would
Yeah.
love to have more time and effort and money put into refereeing so we can get
but
better
s-
trained
but
referees
still
that are
think
not
of it.
fatigued.
But still, like think about it. You're doing it for how many hours?
And you shouldn't be. You should.
Yeah.
We should have referees that are fresh and ready to go. That's not the reality. But
Yeah.
you have to make a 1 second call
Yeah.
during something happening. It is incredible. You've reffed a lot of matches.
Yeah.
I've reffed a lot of matches. It's incredibly hard to do, especially when the stakes are this high. I don't really want to fault the referee. To me, it looked like the correct call.
Yeah.
But again, whenever an athlete kind of like complains, especially at this level, you're kind of like,
Yeah, but
you always kind of wonder.
it's
but-
also IBJJF. People
So-
have tendency to do things.
Yep. It looks fine. So that's all for the men. Miranda, any closing thoughts on the guys?
Nope.
Moving on to the ladies, men's rooster weight. We had a
Nope. Not men's.
women's rooster weight. Thank you, Miranda.
You're welcome.
We had a final. We had my Sebastos is in light feather. Yeah. We had Jessica Carolina defeating Mariana Rosts via points, 4-2. Rooster weight match, back and forth.
Think about rooster weight in the men's division. Make them female.
Very similar match. Onto the featherweight. This is a match I really want to talk about. Not because it was particularly interesting, because of the result. Thanara Victoria defeated Maisa Bastos via decision. Oh, sorry.
In semifinals.
In semifinals, right? Yeah. That Maisa Bastos just didn't pass, and Tharina Victoria had really close inside grips on her hands, on the guard, and Bastos just
And it's the same. She did the same thing in the finals.
didn't
Yeah.
do enough.
Yeah.
And gets a decision loss, which I think was reasonable. She just didn't have enough passing offense. It was really frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
Because it was 10 minutes of kind of waiting for both ladies to go and do something, and both Maisa being unwilling to pass or fight from any other range, and Thanara being unwilling to change the guard or sweep, which is, again, it's understandable. The passer dictates kind of what guard you have to play, so it's understandable. But I was just like, I kind of frustrated with Bastos's. Again, you're the best in the world. We talk about Levi Jones-Leary, the same thing. Like, he's going to play the game. He's going to play. You have to play into it.
But also, if you look at Thanara in finals, she plays the same exact guard.
Yeah. But that's,
And
I think
Shelby Murphy turns it on a little bit differently, but she gets swept because she does. You know? And she wouldn't have... And Maisa is going to be less... Is going to be more hesitant,
more
to
risk
make,
averse.
Yeah.
Which is reasonable. That's how you win world titles, by mitigating the risk that you have to take. But sometimes it leads to matches like this in the semifinals that were like,
It means
nothing really happens.
Also, Thainara is like, this is her first black belt finals, and it's her first like black belt major.
So you've been watching Maisa for years and years and years as the woman to beat,
and no one knows who Thainara. You know, so all of a sudden you don't realize that her it wasn't collar sleeve, it was lasso, and then it was It was like spider, but
It was
she had
lapel, it was lapel lasso.
it was lapel lasso. But
Yeah.
then she
Or
would,
it was lasso with the inside grip, so collar, like, essentially like collar lasso, sleeve lasso.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
lasso
in this,
guard. It was
in,
lasso guard, just
in
lasso guard.
finals, she did a little bit more of like foot to the shoulder, but
Hit it a little higher up on the arm.
Yeah, but same sort of.
But again, congrats
Yeah.
to her. Like, it is a
But if you don't
phenomenal feather
know,
in your cap.
like, if you came into the finals not expecting anybody to play that guard, because that guard is like one of those, like, there are people who play it, but not a lot. Like, you wouldn't practice how to pass
Greg
it.
plays this card all the time.
You're what?
Greg plays this
Oh,
card
yeah.
all the time. I've had like 7 years
Yeah.
of like dealing with
Well,
this
then you are.
particular card.
But I don't know how Misa was preparing to go against. You know what I mean?
He's
Like,
the world champion, probably just preparing to beat everyone.
yeah.
So it is a very interesting upset. I wish the match would have been with more head stuff had happened.
Yeah.
But again, this is what happens when you get the upper echelon of athlete. This is what happens sometimes. So in the finals, Victoria beats Shelby Murphy on 2 points.
Yeah, and Shelby Murphy she was the 2024 Pans and European champion, and she's also Mikey Musumeshi's girlfriend.
Also good to know.
Well, you see him coaching her,
Which is a good coach
the
to
only
have.
thing that clicked, and I was like, oh,
That's her, that's her.
That makes sense. And she just kept on. And really, in all honesty, the only reason this match went differently than the semifinals with Mastos is that Shelby tried to pull a footlock in the last few seconds, and Thainara is like, I'm going to sweep you now.
Yeah. Played it well, and that's how you win. Featherweight, anything else on that?
Nope.
Featherweight finals, we have Mariana Luis defeating Cassia Mora 6-4. Not really an upset, but we're trying to figure out the skill ceiling of Mora. That's not the best way to put that. Cassia Mora is very, very good.
Yes.
This is her first black belt major, I think. They said it was her first time at black belt, but we've seen her in IBJJF at black belt before.
Yeah, but it's
maybe
probably
in Nogi.
Maybe Nogi.
Maybe Nogi is what it was in the gi, but like Cassia Mora has every world title in the past year, from blue belt to brown belt in 1 year, and now is competing as a black belt, and damn, she deserves to be there. We saw her versus Sarah Gaval last weekend, or 2 weeks ago, looked phenomenal, beat Sarah Gaval, who just beat Cravar.
Yeah.
It should give you a good indicator of just how good Cassia Mora is. She's quick for the division. Louisa just outpoints her.
Yeah.
Like, it was a close match. It was a very good match. I was very impressed with Cassia Mora, but just takes it on points, just scores 2. Cassia Mora at the end, she is just a little too close into the guard and gets her foot trapped. It gets turned over for 2 points. That was really, I think, had she attacked her leg out, she would have won on points. She was up on ads.
Yeah.
But
and
Louisa just keeps her leg in there and beats her.
And that's the difference in like lower belt and black belt is in black belt you can't make that mistake, where at purple or brown belt you might be able to make a mistake of a foot position and then be able to either they don't take advantage of it or you can counter and get what you want from that position. And black belt, you fuck up and you just...
You have one shot, and that's like, that is all someone needs. Like all Jansen Gomez needed was time to wing his arm out a little more than he should and get an underhook, and then he won a world title off of like one mistake that Tynan made this year.
Exactly.
Like those margins. So that's, again, taking nothing away from Maria, but I think that this is something that we're seeing a little bit of, like, not lack of experience. That is not what I need to say.
No, it's lack of experience.
A little bit of like just at the
lack
black
of
belt level
experience
of
at this
like
level,
knowing that like the margins you have to play for and being maybe a little less refined than she can be.
Yeah.
I think she can win this match. Absolutely makes a few small changes. She was in the driver's seat for the majority of this match. Just again loses 2 points in the last piece of the match. Again, Louisa just capitalizes. Again, really interesting. Very excited to see where both these ladies go. On to the finals of women's lightweight. We have Jaina Libre defeating Luisa Montero via straight ankle lock. Just kind of grips and rips it.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much a standing belly, what turned into a belly down straight ankle lock.
And it looked nasty.
It did look really...
It looked nasty.
I looked at it, I was like, did she really tap that? And then I freeze framed it and did frame by frame, and I went, yeah, that's kind of a deep... It's just that straight up 50-50, single leg X, straight ankle lock, and she just bellies over the way that you used to not be able to go, and then bellies down through it, and then just she has a really good grip on it, and that's it.
And that's the difference between people who've been doing this in the gi for a long time and people who are learning that as a new rule in the gi. You know what I mean?
there's the footlock.
Yeah.
That again, not much more on that. It's a very quick footlock early into the match, and it's well done.
Yeah.
Female middleweight, we have the finals. We have just Giselle, Menz. Help me out here, Miranda. Mendez versus Ana Beatriz. She wins that 3-0.
Yep.
Again, close match.
Yep, close match.
Just a one-score match for Giselle to take that. I don't have really many other notes on that match.
No, I don't either. Vanessa Griffith, the only reason I have her match marked is because I believe she won Pans last year, right?
I believe.
Or did she win Nogi? It was Nogi Euros. Or not Nogi.
One of the
It was Euros.
It was one of the earlier year tournaments.
It was Euros, I think.
I think it
was the last big one.
Might have been Euros.
Yeah.
Yep. But she was taken out by Ana Beatriz.
Yeah.
And by Toehold earlier in the quarterfinals. Moving on to the female. I keep saying men's. The women's medium heavyweight division. We had a final of Maria Vicente versus Ariela Laverne. 0-0 on points. 2 ads for Vicente. Or Vinciente. There's not.
Yeah.
It was a close match. The match slowed down as time went on. Again, we really hot on Laverne. It was a
well, she didn't let any
slow match,
and she didn't let any points get scored on her, which is I mean that's always a benefit, and that's always something that you have to think about. Is if you can somehow not get points scored on you. I mean that's a good thing to begin with.
Yeah.
And because advantages are advantages.
Yeah, hopefully they do with them. On to the female heavyweight division.
Yeah, but how would you score these matches then? Like, would you just
decisions?
Make
them 6 minutes. Make them go faster.
Okay.
Look, man, a 6 minute match. Like, no, the rule set needs advantages. Even judo's doing away with them as well. Like, score points or go to decision. If you want to not lose, do more. Really, like we have a lot of the matches. I think advantages is great in theory.
Yeah.
But I think it rewards you not showcasing game and being risk averse.
Okay.
And I would much rather like have shorter matches so people can really burn through some cardio.
Yep.
Most of these finals matches, I think we had 3 finals matches at all that I think would needed to be 10 minutes. I think a lot of these matches could have been 8 minutes.
Yeah.
A bunch of them could have been 6 minutes, and it wouldn't have changed at all.
Yeah.
Like I think that 10-minute matches is just unnecessary for the gi for this level. It's just, especially if you're gonna try to get in front of stalling.
Yeah.
It's just too long. Moving on to the female heavyweight division, we have Elizabeth Diaz defeating Maria Maljasic via 2 advantages.
This whole division was 2 matches.
Yeah.
It was a very small division.
Yeah, small division. Same with super heavy.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of notes on this one either.
It was Maria. Maria was playing lasso. Larissa was trying to pass.
Yeah.
She'd get sort of past her, but then Maria would always recover it and come back. So she would get the advantages when she would kind of almost pass, but she never really got past Maria, and Maria was never really able to sweep. She
couldn't really get a sweep started for most of it.
Or really do anything to her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't have much more than that. On to the female super heavyweight division of 2. Gabby Pisana beats Isabelle Lemos via choke from the back. She knocks her over with like a hip bump sweep early in the match in a way that I was really surprised about. That like Lemos just didn't have her base under her and just gets knocked over, and that was very much the beginning of the end for this division. Well, eventually Pisana comes beside, gets the choke from the back.
And the thing is, what's funny is her we can move into female openweight. Gabby Pisana tries to do the same exact thing to Isadora Cristina, and Isadora Cristina at least knows that sweep is coming, so she kind of like gets knocked to her butt but gets back up.
Yeah.
And it's like you see the realization of, I know it's going to happen to me. I just need to be able to recover when it does, Yeah,
like planning ahead for seeing something you saw earlier in a division. So, not earlier. This has happened after. Yeah.
Yeah. And this says it's it was after, right? Wasn't it after? Yeah. She had already won super heavy, or they ran super heavy before.
Yeah, you're okay.
And then
they
ran open weight at the end.
Yeah.
But I watched them not in the order that they were done.
Same with me.
So but I know that it had happened before, but anyway, This one, so open weight final, they say it's a choke from the back, but it's not. It's that shoulder lock from the back triangle when you get the back triangle and you pull their arm up here.
The lightning lock.
The lightning knot lock?
Lightning lock.
Lightning lock.
I don't know what it is.
I was trying to
call it different stuff. But
I know. I've heard it called a thunder lock.
Yeah.
I've heard it called that. I've heard it called a bunch of things.
Yep.
I did it to one of the blue belts. He had no idea what was happening. It was freaking hilarious.
My wife did it to me Sunday.
I know. I like doing this to people because people like, especially if you reach back in that position, I'm taking your arm.
It's a really good position because like how am I going to turn? Yeah. How am I going to free the shoulder out from that position? Like I'm not.
What I did see in this match was kind of fun is Isadora was like, Gabby, you're not doing a really bad footlock to me because your footlocks suck.
Yeah, it was nice to see because we've seen Pisana grab stuff and just like, that's not a great footlock position. So it was nice to see Isadora not get footlocked in that position.
Yeah.
She does get triangled. But Pisana's a really, really difficult force to stop.
Yeah.
No one can stop her. She's all subs through this entire tournament, I think.
Yeah, it's 4 subs.
4 subs, 4 matches. I'm very curious when she goes up against Tiny Porfirio again at BJJ Stars in a month.
Yes.
How that match is going to look if Porfirio looks, to be the contender that she used to be versus someone like Pisana. So that's it. I have no other kind of thoughts on Pans. Again, shouts to Flo.
Oh, we covered men's open weight, right?
It was Jimenez and Miranda. Yeah.
Okay.
Shout to them. They actually have notes this week.
They do.
And they actually have links to all the matches, and it made us producing this show pleasant to do.
And they actually didn't put everybody's how they
they put their real names.
Yeah, how they labeled everything in Flow so that you could find matches was a lot easier than they normally did.
Yeah.
It didn't. The only thing that kind of irritated me was I only figured out that the color contrast was different for the Flow zone as it was for the camera that is looking at the mat. And so if I wanted commentary, I had to look for the duller picture.
Yeah, they're not color correcting it. They have the exposure and the preset on the camera coming. They have the broadcast camera coming out as raw flat, which it shouldn't.
That probably bothered you. That didn't bother me.
Shit out of me.
What bothered me is I want Flow Zone written somewhere. Just write Flow Zone so that I know that that's the one with commentary or that's the one with
commentary.
Or commentary.
Commentary.
Anything.
Or hey, for the other matches, just pipe the commentary to those as well.
Yeah, it's also sometimes a different angle.
Yeah, which is cool, which I like the different angle, but give me the commentary. Don't give me just raw mat side footage or angle or hey, mat side no audio. Give me tag your stuff a little better. But yeah, the color correction bothered the shit out of me because they have one camera that they use primarily for Flow Zone, which is a flat color profile.
It's also I think it's the camera that they put up on a lift.
Yeah.
They take a lift and they put it up in the air so that they can see down.
So guys, if you're listening, because a lot of times the Flow guys do listen, shout out to you guys. For that camera, just put a profile into it so it's not coming out as flat log. Put in a profile so that when you hook it into your ATEM or to your SVID or whatever SDI you're going to use for it, it comes out in production. You can either do it in vMix or in camera or in OBS if you're still using that. But there's ways to do it so that the color profile coming out to the broadcast actually looks good and doesn't look like the raw flat footage. Because even with this camera, it comes into our software as raw, and then I color correct it so that it doesn't look like this gray flat image because it looks really bad on broadcast. So that's my piece. But again, props to them, man. This is the best major that they've done for coverage in a very long time. Yep. And credit where credit's due. They've made some big changes, and it was it made actually doing this show this week fun.
Yeah.
And usually the majors are a grind to get through, and so
trying to find the matches, trying to figure out what did what, who did what's the finals, who won.
Yeah. And, when you can't find out who won on Flow, that is the most frustrating. We're hey, where's the finals match? But that was all taken care of. So again, credit where credit is due for those guys. I hope that they continue to make improvements like they were doing back in 2018, 2019. And we start to see the 2019 era Flow again come back because they were doing some really cool stuff then. Okay, moving on to the preview section of the show. We got main character 6, Bad Blood. We're just going to talk through some stuff really, really quickly. Main event, we have Andy Varela versus Wallason Oliveira. Andy Varela is Andy Varela. Very good Nogi guy out of 10th Planet. Trials winner. ADCC multiple-time entrant, veteran for ADCC. Wellison Olivares is Nogi World Champion 2024. Should be fun.
Yep.
Should be a good match. Varela is got that dog in him.
Yeah, he
and
does.
Oliveira also does too. So we'll see. Again, very winnable match for either guy. Both two very different schools of gamesmanship for how they play.
I agree.
Could go either way. We also have a 135-pound women's championship match between Mo Black and Natasha Drugan. Mo Black is currently the champion. Go back and watch her run through East Coast Trials 2023. Very, very impressive. Or watch her championship matches on main character. Any thoughts on this one, Miranda?
Nope. But she goes against Natasha Drugan, who is from Bruno Bastos' school.
Yes, trains with Casa Amora, and again, it should be a really, really exciting
lanky,
matchup.
as opposed to Mo Black, who's more of a shorter, kind of stockier human. Natasha has lankiness about her.
She's tall. Mm-hmm. And we also have, let's see, Hunter Coven's on this card, Trinity Dupon's on this card. Let's see, Cameron Hurd's on this card. Again,
Jillian Peterson's on this card.
Yeah, a couple other really fun matches are on this card. I'm really curious to see Trinity Dupont versus Maddie Wade because I haven't seen Trinity in a minute here, so it'll be cool to see her kind of back.
I think she's in school down there.
Is she? I thought she graduated.
Did she?
Oh.
I assumed she was still in school.
She probably still is in school. You're right. Okay. And then also, again, Cameron Hurd. Haven't seen him in a minute here. He's a local guy, Virginia to us. I've commentated a bunch of his matches on Copa Virginia, Copa Elite. Fun, pressure, high-velocity wrestler and front choke specialist. Great. Hunter Coven as well, back from Brothers Jiu-Jitsu. Really, really good. We've seen him, I think, in ADCC as well.
Yes.
Or he almost won trials a couple of times.
Hunter Colvin?
Yeah.
We've seen him all over the place.
Yeah.
We saw
For
him
years and years
double-leg somebody down the stairs.
And the last main character. You saw that. Yep. So, again, should be a fun card. Again, don't have a ton on these matchups, but that is happening this week. We will cover it next week. Miranda, any kind of closing thoughts on the show? Anything going on fun this week?
No, I'm going to the Soji. It's called Soji Fight League. It's their new, EBI-style tournament thing.
Up in Long Island?
In Long Island.
Fun drive.
One Friday. Be fun. Good times.
Have fun. That's a trek and a half.
That's a trek. Yes, it is.
So I got nothing else going on. I'm still working on the studio. Hit more snags. You've seen it in the chat. How happy I've been with.
I don't know. I got sick, and so for 3 days I was completely I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah, you missed the fun of last week's show where we had to figure it out on the fly because Zapatero hadn't happened, and it was a whole fun event.
It was a whole thing because I reffed on. It was literally I reffed on Saturday. I go to teach women's class on Sunday morning. I do that halfway through rolling at open mat. I'm rolling. And I start making these weird facial expressions at one of my training partners. And he's like, "Why do you look like you just hurt all over?" And I was like, "I'm completely fine. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about." And I could tell that I started getting irritated by the questions. And then I just wanted to go home and go to sleep. And then I woke up from that sleep with 100-degree fever, and it was good.
And
times.
You texted me, you're like, "Hey, no, doing the show in 12 hours. I am not doing that."
Yeah, I probably.
And I was like, "Cool. Who can do the show?"
It would have either been in a fever dream or. Yeah, no one else got sick around me, so I probably could have done it just through a fever dream. But
take the week off. It was great to have Josh and I to muddle through the show again, as per old times on the show. But glad to have you back. Glad you're healthy again. But I have nothing. I think Zach and I are doing commentary for Copa Virginia this weekend. The 20th, Sunday.
Oh, sweet.
So we're going down to Manassas, Virginia to commentate the cash prize division. If you want into that division, want to hear Zach and I commentate, come down to Virginia, win $500.
Sunday.
It's not Saturday because the venue had to move, so it's Sunday this time. So that's why we can't do D&D on Sunday because Zach and I are out doing commentary.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's all I got. Miranda, anything else? Any closing thoughts?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
As always in the show, I'm your host Maine, my co-host
Miranda,
and we are the Grappling Reruns. So no matter what it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.